Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. This is Jules Investigates. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you for joining us. If you were with us yesterday and on a previous broadcast of Jules Investigates, you'll know that there is an ongoing situation developing with Greg Anderson, Nick Whitley, Maya and Jack and Kowalski, and it seems like it's just getting worse. So anyway, let's bring Jules on. Jules, I don't have my earbuds, so hopefully things will work out. If not, I'll have to sort that out. But I'm going to bring you up right now. Can you hear me?
Hi, Chris. I can hear you.
Okay, cool. And there's no echo. There's nothing weird going on.
Not for me.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I know we start every show with, just in case there's some new people out there. Do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what it is that you do and why are you investigating?
I have a hobby. Okay. Mm-hmm. My hobby is I like to go to trials, and because I just like to be in a courtroom. I like the logistics of seeing how each courtroom is run and how each attorney, does their job and who the defendant is. The majority of the time, 99.9% of the time, has been criminal trials. The Kowalski versus J. Hatch, Take Care of Maya was my very first civil trial that I ever went to. And I was unbiased. I didn't have much background on the case, and it didn't take me long sitting in the trial before I became biased and took the side of the family. And I was just Jules, but thanks to at post-trial Ethan Shapiro pulling his Reddit crap, I was dubbed Notorious Jules. And it was offensive, I found, but Kurt from Uncivil Law said embrace it. I embraced it. So, I'm Notorious Jules now. And I've been to several other criminal trials since the Kowalski trial, but I still follow the Kowalski trial because it's far from over.
Yeah. Well, it's very personal for you, as we've discussed in the past, and we will discuss again today. So yesterday, just to quickly recap in case people weren't there, Greg Anderson. Oh, did you see that, Paul? I have Super Bowl on my lap. Greg Anderson dropped a 73-page filing, basically, saying a lot of things, talking about his wife, talking about his family. Kind of the overview was that he was not happy with what had gone down, with the Kowalskis ultimately, I guess, firing him, for lack of a better word, and going with Nick. And we went over that. So we're not going to go over that today. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely go look at that. But today there is a new motion filing that you found, Jules. Do you want to bring us up to speed on that?
Sure, why not?
Because the fun just never ends.
It doesn't. And who knew?
Right.
I honestly was not going to be checking the docket until, after I moved and got settled in with my son, which would be, say, midweek, next week, whatever. I didn't, but someone reached out to me and wanted to know, could I send them the documents? And I'll be more than happy. It was Ian Runkle was from Runkle of the Bailey was looking for the documents. Apparently he had heard about what was going on, and he made a comment about, why is nobody talking about this? Trial TV Live is the only YouTube channel that is talking about this case. So I went and I said, sure, I'll be more than happy to get you those documents. So I went into the website and I pulled them, and I wasn't really paying attention because I knew exactly where I was going, to get them. And something caught my eye, and I'm like, what? There's new documents. So I sent off the ones that we covered yesterday. So Ian could look over them. And I quickly pulled up these 3 documents. Thank God they're short. But I was in a state of fury, as you remember, Chris, when I found them, and I went absolutely ballistic and off the wall this morning. Have I had time to calm down? No. I've tried, but no.
I know. Well, it is, like we said at the top, it's very personal for you. You know all the players involved, and they know you. So when it becomes personal like that, it affects you. I can understand that. So I want to get back to what Ian said. Why do you think you and us why are we the only ones covering? Why is nobody else talking about it?
I think the reason why no one else is talking about it is that there's so many other high profile cases that are currently in active status going on. And I think people forgot about Jack, Maya, and Kyle because, the last they heard, this is going, it was being appealed by J Hatch, which we all knew that was going to happen. And normally, from my experience, appeals can take up to 2 years. So out of sight, out of mind.
Sure.
And that's what I think happened here. But what nobody realizes is that, it's been a minute. I mean, the time has flown by fast, and briefs for the appeal are being argued next month. And I can confirm, because that was my biggest fear this morning, that all of the new documents from today was going to hinder that. I will be in court on February. Again, my brain, it's either the 12th or the 13th. I'll confirm it later. But yes, it's going forward.
Okay. I think it's the 12th, but we can confirm that down the road. But so you're going to be at that. Okay, great. And will that be streamed or no?
You're streaming it. I sent, Erin has the information, and I think she has to get in touch with the court ahead of time, but I sent her the thingy, for that. But I am definitely going to be in there, because I will admit that this will be the first time I will be in a courtroom listening to lawyers arguing their briefs. So that's going to be a new experience for me.
Right. Mandy has a really great question. I want to pull this up. Mandy Strong, will Mr. Anderson be in the courtroom?
I don't know this for a fact, but I would say yes. My guess is yes. Yeah. And it's going to be definitely awkward for sure.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other preamble, or you want to just dive right into this and start going over the documents from today?
Well, there is one thing that I want to say. I did find out I was corrected today on the correct pronunciation of the law firm that Nick Whitney is with. I kept saying Childers. Chris said Childers. Chris won.
Oh, Childers. Okay, Childers.
So,
tomato.
Second time, dude, you one up me. Second time.
I don't remember the first, but who's keeping track?
It was you did something yesterday. I don't remember what it was, but you did.
I guess I've been around the block more than you, huh?
I guess so. I don't know how you manage that, but all right. But so yeah, my apologies to those that were listening and corrected me. So I will
Okay.
make sure I will say childers from now on.
So now I'll probably say childers.
Good, then you can take the heat because I'm tired of taking heat from people. And
All right,
well,
we have another good question because they're all tied together. Kersey one. What about Dr. Joe, Dr. Goodhair? How does he fall into all of this, or does he fall into any of this?
he does not fall into this.
Okay.
He has a lawsuit against HCA, his former employer, his former employer. God, there I go. I have such a headache. Anyway, so that has nothing to do with this at all.
Okay.
So yeah, Dr.
Okay.
Joe, there's no correlation, no nothing. The only thing that he has in common is he happened to hire the same law firm back in the summer, or even earlier than the summertime, as the law firm that Nick Whitney ultimately, in the end, went to work for.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think? Do you want to pull up the
Yeah, I'm
document?
just mad. I'm mad because remember yesterday when we were talking, Chris, and we were saying, you know, how we felt after going through that motion, the whole set, and I specifically said, I feel like Anderson Glenn Law Firm is doing to the family and Maya specifically the same thing that J Hatch did to Maya when they housed her for 92 days, you know, and all that horrible things that happened to her. I feel like I said yesterday that I felt like that the stuff that was said in that motion was the same thing. Well, now today, there's no doubt in my mind. And when you're ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, let's do it, I guess. Well, Hope Case Unwinder said, by the way, that subreddit got taken down partially thanks to me.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Well, Hope Cat, I hope you weren't one of the ones that like doxed me really badly in there and said some really awful things in there.
I hope not. I don't think so.
I hope not. I hope not, but you know, she's here.
Yeah.
Or
all right.
he.
Aaron has pulled up. The documents. So you said they're short. Do you want to just read through them then?
Yeah, they're real short. You know, I mean, they're it's nothing like last night.
Yeah,
again,
two
guys,
pages.
reminder: Frankie chewed my reading glasses. So you know, yeah, I know I look dumb, but that's the only way I could read. Okay, so
Jules disclaimer.
Yeah,
glasses disclaimer. Yeah. Okay, take it away.
Okay, so this is
filed
what
yesterday. I'm sorry, Aaron. This was yesterday at 8:59. Let's just see the time you highlighted. So, the 16th, which was yesterday at 8:56. So basically 9 o'clock last night. This is when it was filed.
Notice of limited appearance of Susan Bartow Hill on behalf of the firm Anderson Glenn LLP and Gregory A. Anderson Esquire. Notice is hereby given of the limited appearance of Susan Bartow Hill of the law firm. What does that say? Rumberger, Kirk, and Caldwell Professional Association on behalf of Anderson Glenn and Gregory Anderson, the primary and secondary email address, blah, blah, blah. We don't need that. So what that is Greg hired a lawyer.
Seems like it.
He hired a lawyer.
Yep.
Did I see this coming? No. I mean, I saw stuff. I knew this wasn't going to go away, especially since he got denied on his 73-page motion.
Mm-hmm.
But did I see this coming, that he hired a lawyer?
Right.
I sure did not. What do you think, Chris? What's your thought?
I would have thought he would have continued it himself, but I guess he wants to have representation to put that distance between him so that it doesn't. So maybe he feels like it's getting too close to home, and it might be a conflict of interest. So that's why he's hiring somebody that's not as emotionally invested as he is, because that 73-page motion yesterday just screamed emotion to me. And I think most of our chat and you kind of felt the same way.
Yeah.
So to hire a law firm out of Orlando, is it surprising? You know what? I don't think anything really surprises me at this point. But I'm
confused though on why he hired somebody out of Orlando when everything is happening here in the Tampa Bay area.
Well, again, maybe to give that appearance of impartiality, somebody who's just completely not involved emotionally. Because I'm going to just go back to that motion that you read yesterday. It was incredibly emotional. I mean, he was telling us about his wife, and he was telling us about his sister housing Maya, and what a hardship it was for him. They were on vacation when they got the notice over Christmas, and it just seemed very, very emotional. So I'm only speculating here, but maybe he's trying to distance himself and or give that appearance of being distant. I don't even know what this is what you're about to read. I'm just saying from what I can see, from what we
I'm mad.
What's that?
I'm mad.
You're mad.
What
Yeah.
I'm about. I'm like.
Yeah. What we're about to uncover is bad. Yeah. So I'm only guessing. I mean, again, we can't get into Greg's head, but I could think of at some point you got to distance yourself. If you're going to, it seems like he's going to take the next step, and God knows what that next step is. I don't. But if you're going to take that next step, you're denied. You got to take that next step. He'd be like banging his head against the wall, I think, if he continued on himself. So maybe that's why he's bringing in somebody else who could be impartial and or have that air of impartiality. So
maybe write some motions without all of the bitterness and sourness and all of that stuff in there.
That's what I'm saying. Separate the emotion, because when you were reading it yesterday, that's all I got. I'm like, you usually don't do that. You usually are like really clear, professional. That was like a very emotional letter, almost like it was like a breakup. We were literally watching a breakup, in motions, So that's the way I'm taking it. So let's continue on. Let's go to page 2 of this very short motion. Or notice of limited appearance.
Yeah, will do. My very good friend, Lisa Boo, just showed up in the chat. Lisa Boo, thank you very, very much for being here. And you can go back and watch last night's stream to catch you up, hon, on what everything happened, because we covered it from July right up until yesterday. And unfortunately, today's a new day and new news. Okay. I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, we're ready for page 2. Aaron, lay it on us. Or the next document.
Yeah, document number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
Is that it?
We're okay. Yep.
Okay, so notice of attorney. I don't even want to read this because it makes me so freaking mad. Notice of attorney retaining lien on files and charging lien on judgment, award, or settlement.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. That title doesn't sound good.
And it's not good when I read you the body. Okay. Plaintiffs retain the law firm of Anderson Glenn LLP and Gregory A. Anderson Esquire collectively Anderson to represent them in this 7-year matter from the inception of the case through and including trial in the fall of 2023, and for post-trial related matters, including handling of the appeal of the case, having selected and managed appellate counsel, costs for securing plaintiff a book contract, and numerous other matters which client confidentiality prohibits counsel from disclosing. Anderson obtained a successful verdict and judgment in plaintiff's favor after more than 7 years of litigation. See docket number 4200, judgment representation undertaken pursuant to 2 written contingency fee agreements entered into between plaintiffs and Anderson years prior to trial. Collectively, the agreements are binding on plaintiffs. Now, when he's saying plaintiffs, I want everybody to understand he is referring to Jack, Maya, and Kyle. Okay,
yeah.
that is who he is referring to.
Yeah,
and their counsel, and obligate plaintiffs to compensate Anderson a percentage from any recovery in this matter. Anderson, the only attorney willing to take the case, reasonably relying upon the financial terms of the agreements, undertook the representation of the plaintiffs at a great financial risk, both personally and professionally. Now, before I go further, that's true. That's not a lie. That's true. And you notice how this whole wording has been toned down. Okay. Right?
Yeah, but does it still matter? I hate to say it like this, but do we care that, do we really care? And why? Why should we care?
That's true. But
Do
it
we
is.
care?
Yeah. No.
I don't.
But I wanted to point out, but that part of what I just read is true. That's not a lie.
I'm sorry that you had great financial risk, but isn't that why? I'm not a lawyer, and if I was writing a letter, I would be like, I wouldn't put that in because who cares? And if I got that letter, I'd be like, yeah, cry me a river. Who cares? You knew the risk. But anyway, go on.
But he's explaining himself here.
Yep.
But I'm angry about this. Where did I leave it? Plaintiffs at great financial risk, both personally and professionally. Importantly, Anderson would have never continued the representation had plaintiffs not agreed to compensate Anderson under the terms of the agreement. The contingency under the agreements has been fully performed and satisfied. As a, how do you pronounce that word?
Lienor. The
Lienor.
Yeah.
Anderson successfully tried the case in the fall of 2023 and obtained a $261 million verdict. Okay, yeah, you could have not taken the case, but you did. They did sign the agreement. Okay, we get that. Anderson has not been paid the attorney fees due and owing under the contingency fee agreements. Well, we're going to do a whole stop right there. The trial has been over for a year. The remitter was done January of 2024. Okay. So you waited a year to say they haven't paid me any attorney fees?
And I thought they don't get paid until
until
it's settled. So
that's right. They don't.
And I'm sure that's part of this contingency fee agreement, I would think.
It's funny. The the agreement is not included in this motion.
Mhm.
All interested parties are notified that Anderson, located at, I'm not going to give the address because I don't want to dox anybody, has a charging lien against the entire file documents and all matters, electronic or hard copy, and retaining lien, collectively lien on the judgment, award, or settlement, if any, rendered in plaintiff's favor. The lien shall include post-judgment interest for the payment of legal fees incurred pursuant to the contingency fees agreement, together with all costs and out-of-pocket expenses incurred on the plaintiff's behalf. Wherefore, Anderson Glenn, LLP, and Gregory Anderson, Esquire, give notice to all interested parties that they are due the full amount of their attorney fees pursuant to the contingency fee agreements, together with all costs and out-of-pocket expenses incurred, and with interest from the date of the, I know, right? I know.
That's an ouch. Yeah, that's an ouch.
With interest from the date of the judgment until paid in full from any judgment, award, or settlement rendered for plaintiffs, their successor, assignees, or heirs, and Anderson Glenn, LLP, and Gregory Anderson, Esquire, should be included as a payer on all settlement draft documents and checks. All right. All interested parties are hereby placed on notice that any disbursement of judgment, settlement, fee award, purchased financial instrument of compensation, or any other method of disbursement of any asset related to settling or resolving or paying to resolve this case, and any case related by the transfer of assets or interest to that case without notice to consent and payment to the lienor. Did I say that right?
Yeah, lienor, yeah.
Shall subject the recipient of such proceeds to be responsible for the payment and or funds. Dated January 16th, 2025. So
Wow. So they want their fees plus interest. That's pretty.
I would like to see the agreement. I would love to know what that agreement was that Jack signed.
Yeah.
Normally, they get a third of whatever, whether they win or settlement, or they come by way of a settlement agreement, whatever. Normally, it's a third, and they're out of what they call out of pocket expenses, which would be the experts that they had to pay to come and testify, or they had to pay for transcripts. And I know that they did get a lot of transcripts, especially post trial, because Jay Hatch was filing all those crazy motions, and they needed the court transcripts, and those aren't free. You have to pay for those. So all of that, stuff, that's normal. And that stuff adds up. You may think it doesn't, but it really does,
Sure.
Yeah. So,
well, this is definitely the latest. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, what do you think?
Oh, I was going to say this is the latest salvo in what is becoming an extremely messy situation. And once again, who is suffering?
The
Maya,
family.
Jack, and Kyle. I understand Greg might be suffering. He feels his family suffering because that he got his client taken away from him, and what he feels was a possibly, again, him trying to get into his mind, possibly not underhanded, but he wasn't given a chance to at least talk to the Kowalskis. I think that's where he's coming, because I'm trying to put myself in his position. If I had a client who I was working with for 7 years, and then all of a sudden I got a letter from another agency saying, basically, kiss off, I would feel upset, and I would want to talk to that client. So I can understand why Greg is upset at the way it went down. Now, that being said, I wouldn't put the emotion into it. I wouldn't necessarily try to sue that client. I would also not just say, okay, see you later, no hard feelings. I would be like, well, wait a minute, money is due to me. I would like to collect my money, but I don't think I would sue that client to get my money back. But maybe that's his only recourse. We'd have to see that agreement that they signed,
Yes. Now I'm going to counter everything that you just said. And yes, I'm coming from raw emotion here. All right. So I will admit that up front. The Kowalskis didn't just dust
That's
Greg
true.
Anderson aside. That is not what happened. Okay. Right. It wasn't done willy-nilly.
True.
They fired him for cause.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
If there was no cause there, then I would lean towards what you were saying, Chris. But they fired him for cause. He knows damn well what the cause was. He's walking a fine line now by what he's doing. Because in the next document, you're going to find out what he's doing.
So that's going to come from Nick, you think? That has to come from Nick. Nick has to respond to this, right?
Well, you'll see in the next document.
Oh, there's one more?
There's a total of 3 documents.
Oh, there's more. All right.
There's more.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. But no. So I have to say that, is he owed anything? 7 months ago, I would have agreed with you, but not now. No, I don't, because if you behaved, speculation alert, if you behaved unethically with your client, they owe you nothing. I know deep down in my heart, and I have not spoken to Jack in regards to this, but I know that the decision that this family made didn't come easy for them. They had to have had a damn good reason for doing what they did. Okay. It wasn't like, it was not a willy-nilly.
Right.
Like I said yesterday, Jack's not a dumb man. He's smart. You can't pull the wool over his eyes. I think something started to spark. He reached out. Nick Whitney, by no means, I would lay down my life on this, did not poach the Kowalski family. I think the Kowalski family started saying things that they started questioning, because don't forget, Anderson took them on for 7 years. They I don't want to use the word blindly, but they trusted him beyond anything. So no matter what this man would say, they're going to be okay. He's done great so far. And I think that the hairs on the back of Jack's neck started to raise, and he's like, I need to dig deeper. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Motion to enforce retaining lien on files and charging lien on judgment, award, or settlement for fees and expenses, and request for an evidentiary hearing. Ooh, you want evidence. Ooh, this is where I think that Greg's really opening a door he doesn't want to open here. Anderson Glenn LLP and Gregory A. Anderson Esquire, collectively Anderson, moved to enforce a retaining lien on files and charging lien on judgment, award, or settlement rendered in plaintiff's behalf on plaintiff's behalf motion, and he's referring to the other one, for legal services rendered to and cost of out-of-pocket expenses incurred on behalf of the plaintiffs by Anderson in support of the motion. Anderson would show the court the following. Gregory A. Anderson, Mr. Anderson, is an attorney at law licensed to practice in the state of Florida. Mr. Anderson has been practicing law in Florida for over 40 years and has at all times been a member in good standing with the Florida bar. Mr. Anderson's practice focuses on litigation, including personal injury law, and is a board certified civil trial lawyer. Mr. Anderson has tried jury trials in 9 states with a total of over 100 civil jury trials. On or about May 2017, plaintiffs engaged Anderson to represent plaintiffs as legal counsel for any claims plaintiffs may have against any individuals or, I can't read that word.
Entities.
Thank you. I can't see it. It might be my laptop. Would you do me a favor, if you don't mind? Because your eyesight's better than mine.
Oh, you want me to pick it up? Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay. Against any individuals or entities for injury or damages sustained by plaintiff as a result of conduct, negligence, and or intentional actions committed by third parties responsible for plaintiff's injuries. On or about May 24, 2017, plaintiffs and Anderson executed the Anderson-Glenn LLP employment contract, known as the agreement, pursuant to which plaintiffs agreed to compensate Anderson a percentage of any recovery, compromise, settlement, or judgment obtained on plaintiff's behalf, and to reimburse Anderson for any and all costs incurred on plaintiff's behalf, in addition to any attorney's fees plaintiffs might owe. When plaintiff, Maya Kowalski, attained the age of 18 years old, she individually executed a second employment agreement wherein she individually agreed to compensate Anderson a percentage of any recovery, compromise, settlement, or judgment obtained on her behalf, and to reimburse Anderson for any and all costs incurred on her behalf, in addition to any attorney fees plaintiffs might owe. The first and second agreements shall collectively be referred to as agreements unless stated otherwise. Number 3, Anderson, the only attorney willing to take plaintiff's case and in reliance. See, there's that other thing. I mean, that's like, do we really need to know that you were the only attorney willing to take the case? I mean, why put that in? But I understand he's got to make his point. So the only attorney willing to take plaintiffs, see, to me, that's the emotion. You know, that's the emotion. So Anderson, the only attorney willing to take plaintiff's case and in reliance upon the financial terms of the agreements, including most particularly plaintiff's agreement to compensate Anderson with a percentage of any recovery, compromise, settlement, or judgment obtained on plaintiff's behalf, agreed to represent plaintiffs. Importantly, but for plaintiff's agreement to the financial terms of the agreements, most particularly plaintiff's agreement to compensate Anderson a percentage of any recovery, compromise, settlement, or judgment, Anderson would not have undertaken or continued the representation of plaintiffs in this matter. Anderson's agreement to undertake the representation was at a great financial risk, both personally and professionally. Okay, understand. We understand that. That's kind of par for the course, though. You take a case basically on spec and you don't get paid until they get paid. Isn't that kind of standard practice?
It is.
I think so.
So why he's
putting
a lien on them?
Yeah. All right, we're getting to that. Okay, acting on and pursuant to the agreements, Anderson and Mr. Anderson in particular diligently and successfully prosecuted plaintiff's case over a 7-year period, which included an 8-week trial in the fall of 2023 and post-trial related matters, including the handling of the appeal of the case, having selected and managed appellate counsel. A final judgment in the total amount of $208,451,176 was rendered in favor of plaintiffs on January 19, 2024, and recorded in the official records of Sarasota County, Florida. Instrument number so-and-so. Just go back for a second. What was that? Go back up, Aaron. Just let me, okay, okay, I'm ready. Which is accruing interest. Yep, we know that at the legal rate. Now, what is it up to? I know Scott's got that going, right? Is he still got
Well,
that going?
actually, I checked, and he doesn't have it going anymore. It was over 2 million the last time I checked, which was a long time ago. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Right.
know the actual figure on that.
Right. Okay. As such, the contingency / condition of the agreements has been performed and satisfied. All right, we get that. Your work is done, and okay. So 6, I think here's where it gets pursuant to the contingency fee agreement, which I would like to see that.
I would like to see it too.
Yeah, Anderson is entitled to compensation for legal fees rendered on behalf of plaintiffs in the sum of 1/3 of $215,489,000. The current judgment with interest as of January 16, 2024, which equates to $70,111,000. Together with all costs and out-of-pocket expenses remaining outstanding, plus 1/3 of interest accrued by the statutory post-judgment rate, and 1/3 of all attorney's fees recovered post-judgment. And in light of the substitution of counsel that has occurred, now demands that plaintiffs pay the full amount of all sums due and owing. Who has $70 million floating around?
I mean, come on.
Or confirm their payment upon the conclusion of the case in agreement to the lien. Oh, okay, wait, or confirm. Oh, so maybe is that giving them a window? Confirm their payment.
Yeah, it's giving them a window. However, not that I believe that this would happen. I don't believe it for a minute. But should the appellate court overturn the verdict and they have to have a retrial, all of this goes away. Then what happens, Mr. Anderson? Then what happens?
Then what happens? Oof. All right, we read on. Wherefore, Anderson Glenn LLP and Gregory A. Anderson Esquire respectfully request that this court, 1, enter an order determining that Anderson has a lien for services and expenses against the plaintiff's recovery in this case pursuant to the agreements. 2, determine the amount of lien. Okay, so he's asking the court to determine. So he's asking for $70 million, but I guess it's up to the court. Is that how you read that?
Yes. However, though, he laid it out, and the way he laid it out is correct. He gets a third of whatever the family finally gets in the end. He gets a third of that according to the agreement that was signed.
Right.
But and the out-of-pocket costs and stuff.
Sure.
But I'm not quite sure how the interest-bearing thing.
I wonder why he asked the court to determine the amount of lien. He's specifically said what he wants, but then he's saying he's leaving it up to the court. That's a little confusing. But all right, 3, order that the proceeds be deposited in the court register by judgment debtor. And I'm assuming, and number 4, there's more. 4, direct the clerk of court to pay the Andersons the sum found to be due for Anderson's legal services rendered and the cost and out-of-pocket expenses incurred upon receipt of any case proceeds. 5, grant any evidentiary hearing on the matter. Okay, so he wants a hearing. And 6, grant such other and further relief to which a movement is entitled. And we found out yesterday that was, it was Nick in the case that he was citing. So that's dated yesterday, January 16th.
What I'm furious about, and you read the part that I am most furious about, is the fact that he states in there, now that Maya is 19 years old, I'm putting a lien against her too.
Right. Hold on. Krista said, read the footnote. Aaron, if you could pull that back up. Thank you, Krista. Let's check out the footnotes. There were a couple in there. Let's see if you can find the footnotes. Okay, here's that one. There's one right there. Upon information and belief, plaintiffs may attempt to assert that they discharged Anderson with cause. That's what you were talking about, Jules. If they in fact do, the court should be aware that Anderson disputes such allegation and states further that he believes the discharge was procured by fraud. There you go, Krista. And that no cause whatsoever existed for the discharge and intends to prove as much at the appropriate time. That's huge. Thank you, Krista, for that. Yeah.
And like I said, when we first started the stream, he was discharged for cause, and he put that in there. And I think that's a door he shouldn't open, because I will get money. Nick Whitney has the receipts.
Yeah. And there's another footnote, but that one's not so just true and correct copies will be filed separately. Aaron, if you could find where 3 went to, where's the 3 referring from? We see the footnote. Let's see if we can see where's the 3. Oh, there it is. So plaintiff pay the full amount of all sums due and owing or confirming their payment upon the conclusion of this case in agreement to the lien. So, okay. So then that's that. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, that's awesome. Great job. Thank you so much for that. So there you go. So
what are your thoughts about him suing? Well, putting a lien against Maya. What does a 19? Oh my God, I'm so
They say
mad.
19 or 18-year-old. I thought when she turns 18, he said 19, or was it?
No, she's 19 now.
Right.
And
Okay.
he said in there, because she's of legal age and adult, I'm putting a lien on her too.
Yeah. Well, you brought up a great question. Why is he doing it now? Why didn't he do it last year? Why didn't he say, hey, Kowalskis, give me my money? Where's our money? Why is he doing it now? Well, we know why he's doing it now, because Nick found something and he's calling him out. Oh, it just is terrible. I feel so sorry for the Kowalskis. Again, who's the one that's suffering? Who is the one? Now, Greg will say he's suffering because he's put up a lot of money, as he's stated several times. But who truly is suffering here?
This family has been suffering since the day Maya was admitted into John Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
Yep.
That's how long this family has been suffering.
Yep.
And I'm angry.
Yeah. To hear Greg say it, he's been suffering for 7 years too, financially.
Well, okay.
But did you lose a mother? Did your mom,
Well, his mom did pass away during trial.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I remember that.
Yes.
That was right. See, I mean, we love Greg. I mean,
we love Greg. We did. We did. And his mom did pass away during trial.
I remember.
But
that. Yeah.
I mean,
it's terrible.
He complained saying Nick was airing dirty laundry. Well, Greg, if you're watching, Greg, that's exactly what you accused Nick Whitney of doing. That's what you're doing. That is what you're doing. You didn't have to file any of this stuff. You didn't have to file that 73-page motion, because where did it get you? Nowhere. The appellate court said, we don't care. We're going forward. You could have reached out to Childers. You say you did. I don't know if you did. I don't know. The public doesn't know. No one knows. But you could have made your attempts to sit down. Hey, Greg, how about hiring a mediator?
Right.
Don't try and force your client to be with you when or they don't want to be.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to do all of this. You could have hired a mediator, not a lawyer, to sit down with you and Childers.
Right.
Childers. I'm so sorry. It's Childers. And work this out. But no, you're putting this family through hell just the way J Hatch did. Yeah. Especially Maya. Maya, the one who you proclaimed in your 73-page motion that your wife was like a second mother to her, why would you do this to her?
Right. Well, it sounds like he's trying to get back at Nick, but he's using the Kowalskis as like the shield, if you will, or the hammer. He's
Mm-hmm.
using them as the weapon. He's weaponizing them, you know. I wonder if this could have all been avoided if Jack had gone to Greg and said, you know, look, I don't want to, you know, we just don't want to work with you anymore. You know,
I still think you mean like, in other words, if Jack made an appointment to sit down and talk to Greg and say, listen, I have some concerns here.
yeah, like back in November, instead of getting that the notice that he was being fired, if Jack had called him and said, look, you know, this isn't working out, you know, Nick showed me some stuff and I've got some concerns and we're going to go our direction, you go your direction. I wonder what would have happened if that conversation had happened.
I think Jack would have been berated by Greg.
Yeah.
Greg has a temper. No, I don't think it would have gone any differently.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, he's falsely accusing Nick of poaching the Kowalskis, and God only knows if he's accusing him of poaching any other people. I don't know.
Right.
And it's not true.
See, that word poach to me assumes that the client, and in this case, the Kowalskis, can't make up their own minds. And that's a huge assumption that they're adults. They now, you know, Jack can make up his own mind. If he doesn't want to work with you, he doesn't have to work with you, you know? So to blame somebody for poaching, that's to assume that the person who's being poached is, you know, flailing around like a turtle on its back, you know?
Yeah. And that's certainly not Jack. And I do believe, and I'm going to stand by this, because in the end, when this is all said and done, in the end, the truth will come out.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I'm going to stand by the fact that Jack had suspicions, and Jack sought Nick Whitney out. Because who else would he seek out? Would he seek out another attorney? Maybe. But who would be better to seek out for answers than an attorney that had firsthand knowledge of the case in chief? It would be Nick Whitney.
Right. Okay. So what do you think happened first? Do you think that Jack suspected something going on and he went to Nick, or Nick uncovered something and went to Jack?
Oh, no. No, I do not believe for a minute that Nick went to Jack. What I do believe is that Nick, just by doing the paperwork back in July, let's back it all the way up to July. Nick is doing his thing in the law firm. Nick knows that some sort of financial affidavit, I may be using the wrong terms or whatever, okay? But he's doing his thing, and he comes across something that legally was supposed to be filled out and supplied to some other entity, and it was not done. Right. And so Nick said, hey, yo, Greg, I come across this. Why haven't you done this? This needs to be taken care of. Boom. Email, server, shut down. You're fired. Goodbye.
Yep.
And when Nick filed that motion, he's got it in there.
Yeah.
About how he questioned this. Okay, so Jack doesn't read that stuff. He's not, you know, it is what it is, all right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then he goes according to what Greg tells him. Hey, he's no longer with the firm. You know, whatever story he gave Jack made Jack continue to be comfortable in July and in August and in September. Something happened. I don't know what happened, but my guess is something took place. Jack started having creepy feelings, for lack of a better term. You know, the hair on the back of his neck started to stand up, and said, you know, maybe I should start asking some questions.
Mm.
And the person he turned to was Nick Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe for 1 minute Nick Whitney reached out to Jack. I think Jack reached out to Nick and said, hey, I have questions. I need clarity. I know you're not there anymore, but can you give me some clarity? And I'm not a lawyer, but I would think because Nick was one of Jack's lawyers, and even though he wasn't working for the firm any longer, I assume, and that's why I wish we had a lawyer on. We really tried getting a few lawyers on tonight, but last minute they just couldn't do it. But to say, I would think that Nick would be allowed to speak to Jack if Jack asked him. I don't think that it's speculation. I don't think it was what do you call it? Inappropriate or unethical. And I think when whatever conversation may have taken place between the two of them, Jack's like, yeah, no, I can't, I'm not going forward with this any longer. And he cut the ties.
Yeah. Ken, he's our resident lawyer. These filings are a bit more normal than the motion from last night. Would agree. Yep. Last night was definitely a hot mess, but you really only find yourself in this position after a complete and utter breakdown of the relationship. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. But
and Mandy, I see you saying objection, speculation. Of course, that's all we do here is speculate. Yeah. This is the hour of speculation.
Yeah. So, but I don't like that he put in that document. And now that, Maya's of legal age, I'm putting a lien on her too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just okay. Kerviel says, and I saw Greg file to remove Nick from the Kushner case on July 18th of last year. So for them to act like they had a misunderstanding is a bit of a lie.
Yeah.
Greg filed to remove Nick from a Kushner case. Okay, I'm not sure.
All right, the Kushner case.
With that,
it's another J Hatch. Remember the Ukrainian lady? She had the blonde hair. She came in during a rebuttal.
Yes. Yep.
That's Mrs. Kushner. Gotcha.
Okay. Yep. I remember her.
Yeah.
Gotcha. My overall, and we'll get, hey guys, throw some questions and comments in the chat. We'll get to them, but therapists, ethical issues mean they don't have to pay. A serious question. Therapists,
I don't know.
Serious.
I would think, again, I'm not a lawyer. This is speculation. Maybe sometime in the future we can go over all of this all over again, but with a panel of attorneys on board. But my speculation is, if he committed an ethical violation and the Kowalskis fired him for cause, I would think that he would not get paid because of what he did. But we don't know what it is that he did.
Yeah, I would think it would be at the time of what he did. So in other words, if he was acting in good faith and everything was cool and kosher all throughout the trial, and then maybe after the trial, and again, I'm only speculating, but after the trial, something went south, I think he should still be compensated for the work he did. I don't think you can fire somebody down the road, because then everybody would be saying after the work was done, oh, I'm not going to pay you because ethical issues. I think you would have to countersue. You'd have to sue them, and you know what I'm saying? So I think that's a hard mountain to climb to prove that he did something unethical. But if Nick has some kind of proof, then
I
we got to
can't
see that.
believe that Nick Whitney doesn't have the receipts. I can't believe he doesn't have the receipts. I can't believe
Oh
that.
yeah, no, he comes across as the kind of person who definitely would have receipts for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't believe he does that.
And
He
if he
doesn't.
doesn't, then wow, I would be shocked
Yeah,
if he doesn't have.
and it would piss the family off.
Yeah, and
You
everybody
know,
else too, and
yeah.
us too.
And I think that is the exact reason why Jack fired. And I know, with all due respect, I love you, Chris, but the term Jack jumping ship, that doesn't fit here. Jack fired him. He didn't, he fired him. And I don't think he would have fired him without seeing the receipts. There's no way Jack would walk away from Greg Anderson if he did not see the receipts that something wrong was happening here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Two things. Mandy asked us to start speculating what on earth could Mr. Anderson have done, but we'll get to Tay Maria. Didn't Greg put out an enormous amount of personal and firm money? And
He did.
Yes, he did.
That is the absolute truth. In the very beginning, people were saying that they didn't like Greg. They didn't like the way he was performing, early on in the trial. And I remember specifically addressing that with Scott on Recovery Addict. And I was like, listen, I stood up for Greg. I explained, no one in our local area wanted to touch this case. All right. No one. Greg's out in Jacksonville. Okay. That's like a 4 to 4 hour drive, depending where in Jacksonville you're going. Okay.
Opposite ends of the state. One's on the Atlantic and Tampa's on the Gulf Coast. Jacksonville's on the East Atlantic side. Yeah.
Okay. So I explained to them that, he was the only one that would take the case. And that's true. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Yes, he sold his house. No doubt. Excuse me. He downsized his home to help fund the trial. He took loans against his business to finance this trial. I will not take that away from the man. He did do that. But if he did that, that meant he 100% firmly believed in this case. And that's why he took it on. And that's why he steadfast with it. And in the end, they won. Yes. Greg and Nick, hey, yes. Rico, Scott, I'm so happy you're here. So yes, I'm not going to take that away. And Scott, I don't know if you were here last night when we went over that horrific 73-page document, but I mentioned last night how Jennifer and her sisters, they were on Scott's show. He had an incredible interview. Jennifer is a great person. I said it yesterday and I'll say it again today, but something happened without doubt. And I've heard the term over the last 72 hours, money does, strange things to people.
Yeah, it really does. Mandy wanted us to speculate. Well, what started all of this was that Nick found something on the 9th, and then on the 10th, his access to the server and his email his access to the company server, the firm server, was removed, denied, deleted. His email was deleted. And then he gets a letter from Jennifer like a week later saying, we didn't fire you. We thought that we assumed that you quit, and you didn't give, and then you, on top of it, you didn't give us a 2-week notice. So,
and she blamed it on Jill, remember?
Yeah. Then Jennifer blamed it on Jill. So reading between the lines, Mandy, Nick found something because he's a numbers guy. So he found something that caused him to raised concern about the something financial. I think that's as far as we can go with that. We don't know what it was, but he found something that didn't sit right with him. He raised a question, he raised the alarm, and he was fired the next day.
If you go back to the July motion in there, Nick specifically says, this is not verbatim, okay, but it was that there was something financially. I don't want to say too much because it is invading the family's privacy, but it is in that document. In regards to advancements against the potential settlement, that whatever this dollar amount was and where these funds came from and where they went to needed to be documented and sent somewhere. It stated where. And it wasn't done. And that's what Nick came across. And he questioned Greg, hey, why didn't you do this?
Yeah.
What is...
Recovery Addict says, it is sad to see this. I still haven't caught up on the details. I hope everyone gets paid for their work. We wouldn't have ever have gotten here without Greg and Nick.
Absolutely.
That is so true. Yeah. And Ken said earlier, Ken Rosenberg, Mr. Anderson's commitment to the family makes this all the more sad. Really hope they can find some way to resolve this without putting the family in yet another courtroom. That is so true.
Yeah.
And Mandy says, advancements.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I guess speculation on my part, but I guess if you dole out funds, advancements, whatever, it needs to be documented and filed somewhere. And it wasn't done. And
Cat's Pajamas, it was a closeout report or something like that. So I have no idea what any of that is, but I guess that is part of the process, is that you got to tie it up in a neat bow somehow, right?
And all Nick wanted was things to be done correctly and timely. Because as much as Greg wants to distance himself from Nick now, saying, he didn't have anything to do with this case, which we know is not true, and all of that stuff. No, he did. So if something was going to come down, it wasn't going to come down just on Anderson. It was going to come down on everybody that was involved in the case. So all he wanted was Greg to address it and get it done. That's it. And instead he got fired for it.
Yeah. And we got a couple good comments come in here. Sue says an attorney's escrow account is called an interest on lawyer's trust account, or IOLTA. Those accounts are used to hold client funds before the attorney has provided services. So I think that answers where did the advancements come from Mandy. So Counselor held, okay. Yeah, thank you, Sue. I had no idea about any of that. A forensics accounting is needed for sure. Well, maybe that's what we'll get, right? Hopefully.
Considering the fact that Greg is once again asking for another hearing, I wouldn't put it past the Childers firm asking Judge Carroll to have a forensic accounting done.
I think that's what's needed at this point, to be quite honest. Yeah. They need to put this to bed one way or the other. What did Nick find? What was it? What caused this complete and utter train wreck? Future says messing with the IOLTA. I'm sure there's a IOLTA account is one of the quickest ways to get disbarred or in trouble with the bar. I'm not saying this is what GA did, just a general comment. Sure. Yeah.
Sure, Future, and thank you for that, because that kind of makes sense, because how Nick was so concerned about whatever this was, that it wasn't done, and it wasn't done in a timely fashion, and he questioned it. So that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense. And and if you recall, in Jack's affidavit, he said, Jack made reference in there. I hate bringing this up, but he made reference in there about getting a loan and how he wanted the loan to be confidential. So somehow Greg secured, I don't know what the amount was. The amount was not in the affidavit, but apparently from what I read, Greg secured a loan for Jack. And I guess it was going to be against the settlement. And I'm assuming, and if Future is, correct or on the right pathway with this, I'm assuming that whatever that loan was needed to be recorded somewhere for someone, and it wasn't done.
Yeah. Curvio says they need to change the rules for settlements. Good luck with that, I guess, right? It needs to be like where the debt trial was held. You can appeal, but you have to pay all the money into the court escrow account to be held. Is that legislation? I would think, right? I mean,
well, I do believe J Hatch did have to put X amount of money in a fund. I do believe that's the case. Okay.
So here we go. Future says, when there is a settlement or payment of award monies, what generally happens, it's deposited in IOLTA, then attorney's fees and costs are paid, and then clients are paid. Could vary by state, of course. So when there is a settlement, that's the thing.
That's
when
the key. We haven't gotten there.
that's the hypothetical when there is a settlement. Yeah.
I think there will be. You know what I would really like to see happen here? I would like to see Childers and J Hatch sit down. Okay, if you remember, after the verdict and before Judge Carroll submitted the remitter, he requested that they go to mediation. So they go to mediation, and they didn't even get in there for an hour. J Hatch just was like, yeah, no, boom. All right, we're out of here. Everybody left. Nothing got done. So maybe now that there's a new firm involved, maybe Childers and J Hatch, Hunter, maybe sitting down with Howard Hunter and Ethan Shapiro and whoever else with a new set of eyes and a new set of ears, they could sit down and they can come to an agreeable settlement and get this done and over.
Yeah.
So
I see a few people in the chat are, Anderson is alleging fraud. How do we know Nick hasn't committed fraud? We don't have the facts of the matter. And that is true. We're only hearing kind of one side at this point. So I would like to see what Nick comes back.
Well, they're both accusing each other.
Yeah.
Nick is accusing him of not doing what he was supposed to be doing with that whole business of the finances. And Greg is accusing them of poaching the Kowalskis and of forging Maya's signature.
Yeah, then there's that. That was from yesterday's. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's some serious allegations.
Yeah, they're both making allegations against each other.
Yeah. Right. Ken says a final statement in your state is an accounting of basically all money involved in the prosecution of the case, fees, loans, insurances, etc. Yeah.
And that
yeah.
is here in Florida. That
Yeah.
that happens here in Florida. That's what they have to do. They have to account for everything,
Mm-hmm.
including loans.
As they should. I mean, as they should. Tay Marie says, could Greg and Nick be in disagreement of what and when Nick is to be paid? Is it known Nick actually found something against Greg?
It is known.
It is known.
It is known.
Yeah.
That was what Nick filed in July, that he was fired because the fact that he found.
Yeah. The next day he was fired. Well, he says he was fired. Anderson says you quit. So they're in disagreement over that. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. Poaching, Mandy, is when you take you take a client away from another group, entity, agency, whatever it may be. So if you have an agency, I have an agency, you have a firm, I have a firm, whatever it is, and Jules is your client, then I come in and say, hey, Jules, come over here and, come work with me. That's poaching. Although that's assuming that Jules doesn't have a mind and she's like, oh, sure, I'm just going to leave. It's kind of a weird situation because, again, it assumes that the poachee, which would be you, can't make your own decisions. But that's basically what that is. Debbie Blair asks, Jules, where is the original case at with the courts? That's a good question.
Okay, the original case is it's in the appellate court right now. The briefs have been filed from both sides. Mr. Elligott from my understanding, he's no longer, but Mr. Elligott was the one who filed the brief for the Kowalski family, and Mr. Altenberg is the one who filed the brief for J Hatch. So they were filed, and now on February 12th in the morning, now I don't know who's arguing the brief for the Kowalskis. I don't know if it's that Gunster person or if it's still going to be Elligott. I mean, I have no clue on that, but I do know Altenberg will be in court on February 12th, and they both have 30 minutes each to argue their brief in front of the panel of judges. Right. And so, J Hatch is going to argue their I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 5 issues that they had with Judge Carroll. So they're going to argue why the appellate court, why the panel should overturn the verdict and give a new trial, or just overturn those specific, like one of them is Beata. They don't think that they should be held responsible for Beata's unaliving. Another one is they think that, Judge Carroll shouldn't have omitted DCF. They think that if that would have been allowed to come in, they would have won. So they'll argue their points. And then obviously the Kowalski family, whichever, again, I don't know who until I get there, I'll find out who will argue why everything should stay the same, why Judge Carroll was correct in the decisions that he made regarding the brief that J Hatch filed. And the judges will ask questions, like they may interrupt one of them and say, but wait a minute, what about if X, Y, and Z happened instead of A, B, and C? And that lawyer has to answer their question. So, but they have 30 minutes each to get this done. So that's where we stand. We will not get a decision then. It probably will take an additional 90 to maybe 120 days.
Wow.
Before, and the decision will come out in writing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're looking at sometime in the summer. Well, the earliest would be May-ish, May or June, and latest would be September or later. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
So that's where the original case stands.
That's where
And all of this stuff is just mishmash.
Yeah. So Debbie, Jules we're not 100% sure, but Jules just explained, we're not sure who's going to do the argument for the family. Jules, you just kind of talked about that.
Elegant was the original appellate lawyer for the Anderson firm.
Mhm.
But now they're with Childers. I believe the person's name is Gunster.
Mhm.
I'd have to go back and look. It is on file. I'd have to go back and look, but I think that was the name, or that's the name of the firm. But in any case, so there's that one. So I can't see how Elegant is gonna argue the brief, considering yesterday the appellate court said, nope, we're denying your motion, and we're granting that Childers is now the attorney of record.
Mhm.
And so there you go.
All right. To the lawyers in the chat, can another attorney do oral arguments on a brief that another attorney filed? Is that can anybody answer that?
I have no idea.
I would think not, but maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Any attorneys out there?
I have no idea.
Jules, have you been to an appellate argument before? You're one of just a handful of people on the planet who have been both in a trial court and the appellate. There you go.
This will be my first time. I'm so excited because I've never had the opportunity to do it before. And the appellate court is literally, 10 minutes from where I'm going to be living starting on Sunday. So yeah, I'll be in there. I'm so excited to literally see that process, how it works. Like the only time I ever saw it was when Andrea Burkhart, you all know who she is, had to argue a brief in front of the appellate court, and she literally got her hands on the live stream, because they did live stream her arguing the brief. And she put it out. She released it on her YouTube channel, and I was like in awe. I was in awe of her. And and the prosecuting attorney, it was another woman, did really well. And I don't know what the decision is. That was only like a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, the appeals, we've covered now a couple of these cases that we've covered. The rewatches have happened so long ago that we've seen the appeals as well. And I'm fascinated. I've never really watched them before, and I'm fascinated. And I think two things that I like most about watching appeals. One, the judges get to just cut you off in the middle of a sentence. They don't care. They're just like, yep. And they'll just like, so you have to be here stating your case, and all of a sudden they'll come flying in at you, and you got to completely pivot and go over to that train of thought. And then B, you have a specific amount of time. Just can't get up there and ramble on for 5 hours. Like you said, each side gets a half an hour. I love that. I'm really getting into this whole appeals process, and I want to cover that more as we continue on.
Oh, dude, you don't know how bad I wish you were coming to Tampa to sit in court with me. Oh God, because this is my first time, so I'm not going to have anybody to like grab their knee and was like, because but like
you can virtually grab our knees. Well, afterwards, right? We have to do a recap. We have to do something that night, I guess, or whenever you want to do it.
Yeah. I'd like to do it right outside the courthouse. As long, Erin's got to teach me how to get stream, how to make it work. I have the app on here. Okay. I just don't know how to make StreamYard work. Every time I try it, it says Safari is blocking it. So I don't know. Erin's got
another browser. You need to use it on another browser. We'll sort that out. We'll get that out. Let's see. Any other Oh, Festive Graham says that she was not aware that you were on this channel. Jules is a wonderful friend of the channel. She has been, her and I have been to the Sarah Boone trial together. We went to Sarah's sentencing and then Ashley Benefield's sentencing. Jules has appeared multiple times, so many times I don't even remember at this point. The Christmas Eve special, the New Year's Eve special, Jules was with us. And now we have Jules Investigates, a little side project for Jules, because she is always going after dockets and people coming to her and saying, hey, check this out. So yes, Jules, we are so grateful and thankful and lucky that Jules is who she is, and she's a part of our channel. So.
And I'm grateful to you guys as well. Yeah. So we, when one of my followers reached out about Devin Perkins, and so here we go. Another miscarriage of justice,
absolutely,
so to speak. So yeah.
Yes, and Debbie Blair is correct. Try another browser, you will make it work. So that's the StreamYard thing. Try a different browser, Chrome or Firefox, probably Chrome, but we'll teach you. We'll show you that.
Yeah, I need to learn. I need to learn. But yeah, I'm calmed down now, but I'm just I am calmed down. I had a really nice, I won't go to sleep now, but a nice cup of tea. What is that?
That's
what is
great. Only plea says Jules floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee.
Yeah, right. Whatever, only fan. I love you though.
All right. Oh, speaking of Sarah, Debbie Blair, speaking of Sarah, she has been quiet.
And she's been moved.
Yep. Oh, Krista Limited Edition says try the StreamYard app. But that's what
I have it.
You have it. So then you don't need a browser. Oh no, wait, you still need a browser. Oh, yes. Whatever. We'll sort that out.
Yeah. See,
we'll sort that out, guys. Don't worry. We'll sort it out.
It's crazy.
We'll sort that out.
But
right, any other questions, comments on the for Jules, on Greg Anderson and Nick and the Kowalskis?
Well, I don't know if anybody in the chat has questions, but I know someone 45 minutes ago wants to know why I'm so worked up. I don't remember who it was. I'm worked up. I'm calmed down now, but the reason why I'm worked up is you have to understand. Did I cross a line? I probably did. Okay. Because any other trial I've ever went to, I went in there, I would go in unbiased and, come to my own conclusions, whether I was right or wrong, whatever. I didn't get to, I talked to people maybe that sat next to me or whatever, but never got involved with, the litigants or anything. This was my first civil trial. Because it was so close to my house, I was like, I'm going to go. Yeah. And I went. And the first 10 days of trial or so, I sat on the defendant's side. But the more I kept hearing the testimony and the more and what was happening was at night I was going home and I started all the way at the beginning of the docket and I started pulling all the documentations and I was like, oh my God. So I moved over to the plaintiff side of the courtroom and I remained there. And essentially what happened is my seatmate, who is the cake lady, Alicia, and I formed a friendship. And, you can't help but, you see the family in and out every day. And the one day, I think I've already told you the restroom story.
You have, yep.
That's how I met Maya. I mean, I literally in the restroom came out of the stall and boom, right on her back because I didn't know she was standing right outside my stall. We started talking and then we talked every day. And then I spoke, and that same day I spoke with Jack. Now, were we talking about the case? No, no, not at all. But just in general, and I got to know all three of them. And, you know, Kyle is very protective of Maya. I'm not going to get into our conversations because they were personal, but I came to know and love this family. And it didn't stop when the trial stopped. It didn't stop when the judgment was put in. You know, during Christmas, you know, we exchange our pleasantries, you know, we check in with each other. You know, Maya just checked in with me, you know, a few weeks ago. So that's why I'm so worked up.
Sure. Yeah, no,
that's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
I agree. It's one thing for us to watch anything with the disconnect, you know, from the TV to here, but you were there, you were rubbing elbows, you were talking to them, you were engaging with them, they were engaging with you. It's amazing how a bond is formed, you know, and you formed a bond with them, and you, like you said, you still, you know, to this day, you know.
If Maya called me right now, as much as I hate driving in the dark, if Maya called me, or, you know, or Kyle or Jack, they said, hey, I'm stuck. I really need a favor. Can you come get me? I'd be out the door in a flash. Sure. There's nothing I wouldn't do for this family. I will tell you this. They are very, very close. They're very tight-knit. I forget the person that's here in the chat, but the one that said that brought up Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
Don't believe that crap on Reddit, okay? Jack is not a controlling person. The things that they've accused this man of, I won't even repeat on here because it's a bunch of bunk. Okay. He cares very deeply for his children. He won't do anything without sitting down as a family and discussing it first.
Yeah.
He was both mom and dad to both Maya and Kyle. He made sure that both Maya and Kyle got the care that they needed, you know, after Maya was released from the hospital, and every year thereafter. And so they are still a very religious family. They're a close family. The rumors that and the things that are said about Maya disgust me. Yeah, she's got good days, she's got bad days, and when she's got her good days, why not freaking celebrate them? She's doing well on TikTok. Leave her alone. I saw the Reddit post, you know, falsely making statements about her appearance. It irritates me. It upsets me because it's not true. Okay. When you know how to, Chris, you don't know this because you're a guy, but when you know how to apply your makeup properly and stuff, you could literally change the appearance of your face. You can make your cheekbones look higher. You could make your lips look fuller. There's so much you can do. You know, there's so many products out there. Stop. People need to stop and leave this kid alone. Okay. Let her live her life. If she's in a sexy outfit, good for her. She's having a good day. But I can tell you, when she's having a bad day, she's having a bad day, and she don't talk to anybody. She don't do anything but lay in her bed. Yeah. People asked during the trial that first day that she wore the dress, and this was in Rob's chat from Long Lumber. Oh, she had a chat. She had a dress on. Did she really have leak? Because Greg had spoke about her lesions on her legs and this and that, during testimony one day. So somebody was trying to call me out in the chat. Because on camera and from a distance, you can't see her legs up close and personal. I did. But when they were badgering me in Rob's chat, I kept saying in there, I'm not going to answer that question. And Rob did say to me later that night, thank you. I'm glad that, you didn't take the bait. And I was like, no, but I can tell you this now because the trial is done. It's over. And I can say it. Yes. Yes, she did. You could see the ones, a few fresh ones. You could see the healing, the ones that were in the process of healing. And you could see the scars of the ones that healed. Okay. You could see the tiredness in her every day. I don't know if you people could see it, but there were days that she had black circles under her eyes. She could barely keep her eyes open. There were days that she did not attend the trial because she was sick. But the days that she was feeling good, she'd be in there and she'd be upbeat and everything was going. And yes, her personality was different. So there you have it. And if all of this that's going on gives her a setback and I find out, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, you said that yesterday, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring that up, that you brought that up yesterday, that the stress, what's the stress going to do to her? What's it going to do to Jack and Kyle? I mean, stress is stress. Everybody reacts to it, and they have been under stress for how many years? 7 through the trial, and before that, through Beata's passing, and then Maya being in the hospital. I mean, this family has known nothing but stress for what, 15 years, 10, 15 years?
Since 2000, when was she first? I'm trying to think when she was first diagnosed.
Was she like 10 or something, 9 or 10 or?
Yeah, but she was having issues like when she was 8.
Yeah.
I think when she was 7 or 8 is when it started. And then it just progressively got worse. So she's 19 now. So 12 years, 12 years.
Yep. 12 years of them dealing with this stress and just dealing with life. I'm sure all they want is just a normal life. They just want to have a normal life like everybody else. That's all we really want. We just want a normal life where we can get together with our friends and family and our loved ones and have a roof over our head. I mean, we all want the same thing, and it's a shame that not everybody gets that, they have to go through, what they're going through, just to get a normal life. And it's just, it's sad. It's sad.
And she's got what you would call the new normal, whatever that is. Leave her alone. The Reddit people need to leave her alone. They need to leave the entire family alone. Stop with the comments. Oh, poor Kyle, poor Kyle, poor Kyle. Kyle is doing just fine. His father and his sister love him dearly. He's flourishing. And stop with the false accusations. I will not repeat what they are because they are just horrific, but stop with the false allegations towards Jack because a lot of stuff that's put out there is false. You do not know the entire story of certain things in his life. Leave that man alone. And definitely, by all means, stop picking on a 19-year-old kid. You've been picking on her since she was 17 years old. Grown-ass adults, excuse my anger, but grown-ass adults are picking on a 17-year-old kid about the way she looks and how she acts and this and that and the things she does and her boyfriend and all. Leave her alone. And even at 19, they're still doing it. Leave her alone.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Get a life, as therapists, says, get a life. I guess it's easier to, tear down people than it is to look at your own life, and take a cold, hard look at your own life,
Yeah.
It's easier to attack other people. So
You're right, Chris. You're right.
Mhm.
And what's that term? They're known as keyboard warriors.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
So
sad.
you have Frankie, I have Super Ball. She just woke up. Frankie seems to be
Frankie
pretty
just woke up
awake there.
too. Yeah, I said your name. Okay, no more
Frankie.
kisses. No more kisses. All right,
So,
Bubba.
all right.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else? Yeah, I agree with you, Ken. Yeah, especially. Oh, wait. Oh, not just Reddit. Julie Grant was
Oh,
Maya too. Yeah.
oh my God. Yes. Are you aware of that story, Chris?
Kind of, but go ahead and say it. Say it.
Okay. The
Remind me.
same day that the IJ report
Mhm.
came out, okay, that Jay Hatch was hiding the IJ report from the plaintiffs. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Joe testified to all the issues that Jay Hatch was having, and Judge Carroll ordered the IJ report to be given to the defense, and Hunter was blaming it on Shapiro, and Shapiro was blaming it on Hunter, and it was just a fiasco. And Judge Carroll said, if I see one scintilla,
Yeah.
one scintilla that you've been not disclosed, you had a man on the stand that testified that said there were no problems. I find out differently, there's gonna be a problem. Okay.
Mhm.
All of this went on this day in court.
Mhm.
And it was during the defense, when the defense was putting on their case.
Mhm.
Then Ethan Shapiro gets up, and Maya was on the stand. And what does he show?
Mhm.
Maya's prom pictures.
Yeah.
Okay. And made this big deal. Now, I know the real story behind the prom pictures.
Mhm.
I'm not going to put it out there unless I have permission to. But I know the 3 to 4 days of what was going on prior to the actual day of the prom. Okay.
Mhm.
What does Julie Grant do? Now, out of the two things I told you, the IJ report and Maya's prom pictures, what do you think is like the bombshell of the day, of that day, would have been the bombshell news?
What would have been the report, but she was probably reporting, or she went more for the prom photo, her dress. Yeah.
Instead of covering what the hospital was covering up for approximately 2 years prior to Maya being admitted, through her entire stay, approximately 3 years after she was released. Big problems at All Children's, big problems.
Yeah.
And it was revealed that day in court that Jay Hatch lied and kept the report from the guy who testified. The guy admitted he testified to what they told him to testify to.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the bigger issue here.
Yeah.
But what did Julie Grant do?
The dress.
She flashed Maya's prom pictures all over the place and said terrible things that day about Maya.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. We were watching, I think we were on Scott at that point. We were on Recovery Addict. I think we watched the trial through Scott's eyes. I don't think we watched that other channel.
Yeah, no, that was the next day in the morning for her, what I don't know what they call it, opening statements, I think she calls it, in the morning from 8 to 9. She does her little stint. She had I was so upset because I saw it before I went to court, and I'm like, oh dear God, I hope no one in the family saw this. You know, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah. So that's what that's what that poster was referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Deanna, sadly, her dress gets more views than a boring report. But the boring report was actually that, you know, they well, really opened up what they did to her. So, but unfortunately, sex sells, blood and guts sell. That's what people want to see. That's what people want to see. They don't want to see the other stuff.
Do you think I'm wrong when I refer to Maya as a kid, even though she's 19? I take a lot of heat for that.
I think anybody under even a year younger than me is a kid. If I'm older than you, you're a kid. You're a kid to me. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I refer to people in their 20s, you know, as kids. Sure.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me when I was that age and somebody in their was saying that about me. I'm like, you know.
Yeah. You know, but she's living her life the best way that she knows how, and she needs to be respected for that. And just because, you know, she may or may not. We know the history of the CRPS. It can come and go. It could be triggered like that. It could layer out for a period of time. I don't want to reveal too much, but she's doing okay. All right. She's doing okay. She just needs to be left alone.
Yep. Agreed. I agree. Yeah. People. Yeah. Lisa was angry with the pool pictures and video. Poor girl couldn't get a break. And Mandy says, I saw Maya's prom photos. What was wrong with that? Nothing was wrong with it. It's just that Julie Grant at Court TV decided to focus on that versus the other more important news of how the hospital was treating her.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and for people to say she was faking, I just have to roll my eyes in disdain.
Yeah, people just expected Deanna. Nothing was wrong with it. Just people, you know, expected to see her, and because she's expected to see her in pain 24/7. So she's making these, you know, they're not accusations. Well, she was making accusations, but she's saying that she's in pain. But then all of a sudden she's in a prom. Oh, how dare she be in, you know, a prom dress and actually enjoying her life when she should be, you know, shriveled up in a bed, you know, howling in pain. So, like, she's not allowed to live her life if she has a good day. How dare she live her life, you know?
She
didn't look sick to people.
And it's, you know, I'm going to use the term bully. I feel grown ass adults bullied this kid.
Yep. All right. What else we got?
Just because somebody, all right, let me ask you a question, Dr. Bullbutter. Do I look sick? Do I look sick? Because Chris and Aaron know, and there's quite a few people in the chat who know, but do I look sick? What does somebody who's sick look like other than if they have, you know, the Rona or the flu, you know, or, you know, something of that nature?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They expect her to be like, you know, shriveled up in a bed, you know, looking sick, you know, all the time, you know, all the time.
Yeah. But, you know, the people, you and Aaron and the people, some of the people, I don't know if everyone is aware, but can I technically say I'm sick? I sure can. Because technically I am. Hopefully at the end of next month, I'll get news that, you know, I have no evidence of disease anymore. We will see. But, you know, you all were on my journey with me since June through every chemotherapy infusion, the chemo oral pill. I celebrated on December 22nd that I took my last one. Okay. But do I look sick?
No. No, but Dr. Bullbutter said she was agreeing with
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't agreeing. I get you. Yeah. No, she wasn't saying anything negative about that.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I wasn't saying anything negative. I was just responding to Dr. Bullbutter's comment when, people did look at Maya and say, she's not sick. She doesn't look sick.
Yeah.
I mean,
therapist, she doesn't deserve her payout because she doesn't look sick. What? Is that what people are implying? Yep. Sorry, I didn't watch this trial. Yeah, in a way. Yeah. I think that's what therapists, right? I'm sorry. Trial junkies. Yeah. Trial junkies. Sad people can't be happy that Maya got the verdict she did. People get jealous because they can't imagine the money she is supposed to get. Yep.
Yeah. And, it's crazy. And how could you look at a person and just assume that they're as healthy as can be when they're not? Granted, what Maya has going on is it comes and goes. All right. It's triggered. One of the triggers is stress. And it could be very, what's that word? Oh God, I can't think right now. My brain is fried. But what did Krista just say? You've got it up on your thing.
Oh, people, I'm sorry. People with chronic illnesses get that all the time. Just because you have a good day or week and can do things, then people say, oh yeah, you're really sick. I attended a World Chronic Summit. And
wow.
Oh, it's debilitating. It's debilitating.
That's the word. Thank you. That's the word.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ken, plenty of videos of her suffering, but she has an okay day in court and the internet freaks out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, all I know is I cannot wait to see her, Jack and Kyle again. I can't wait to hug that kid. I can't wait to give Kyle a big hug. And Kyle and their personalities are so opposite. They're polar opposites. Maya is very outgoing. She's very, she's a pleasure. I mean, she is an absolute pleasure. And we were talking about hair and makeup and you name it, okay? And she's an extrovert, okay? To the people she knows and trusts, okay?
Sure.
Because she needs to be careful. Kyle, on the other hand, is an introvert. He does not talk. He needs a considerable amount of time. He's very polite. I mean, our first meeting was, "Hi, how are you?" And smile. But it was weeks before I actually was having a conversation with him, or we walk out into the parking lot and have so there's the difference. But he's very protective of his sister.
I'm sure.
And Jack is just a pleasure. Jack will talk to anybody. Jack will make friends, with anyone. He doesn't care. Jack is very sociable, very friendly, a very warm and loving guy, and he loves his children.
Yeah, that's obvious. I got that through the TV, even, or whatever we were watching through the computer, TV. That came across very, very clearly. That Jack loves his kids. They've all been through such a incredibly terrible, stressful situation, and they've, to me, it's like they're relying on each other, and Jack is taking care of them as best as he can, and it came across that he is a very loving father, so
Yeah.
that comes across to me,
And he is definitely a papa bear,
Mm-hmm.
but because of this, the public attention
Mm-hmm.
that this trial received, he also has to be careful and stuff, and um but he protects his children, and he not only protects his children, he supports his children in every way, and whatever path they want to go down, he's supportive.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, if this is what you want to do, I support you in this.
Sure. So Leah, new to the chat. Don't remember seeing you before. Do attorneys get a percentage of the amount awarded by jury or of the amount actually paid after appeals or settlement agreements are done? Well, the amount, as we found out, was $261 million, and Judge Carroll took that down to $201 million. And then now there's all this interest being accrued. What do you think, Jules? Do they get that 201, or do they get all the interest once the final number has been resolved?
If the appeals court doesn't overturn the verdict and let them and let J Hatch get a new trial, it still won't be over, because J Hatch will take it up to the next level. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to keep going unless some sort of settlement will happen. But the attorneys will get a third plus their cost of what it took for them to try the case of what the actual final settlement is. If say right now the settlement is at 201 million, I mean, not the settlement, it was remitted down to 201 million, I believe is the number. And I know that it's in excess of 2 million. I'm going to guess and say maybe the interest is about 5 million by now. I don't know, but
it's a lot. Whatever it is, it's a lot.
So that money also gets added in to it. So the attorney will get a third of everything plus their expenses. Right. And then whatever is left, the family will get that money. Now, right now we're working with that figure that's been awarded by the jury and then remitted down from Judge Carroll. But here's another scenario that can happen. Childers and JH could possibly sit down with a mediator and say, everybody's had enough. Let's come to an agreement on X amount of money. And if Jack thinks that is that there's because they did make an offer before trial twice, and it was turned down. So if you hear Ethan Shapiro say, we never made a settlement offer, he's lying, because it's in the court records. All right. But so they may be able to work it out where, the family is, this will work for me. And then whatever that amount is, we will never know. If they actually settle, we will never know what the amount is. And the attorney will get the third plus expenses of whatever the settlement was. Not what the judgment was, but whatever they actually settled for.
Right.
So that's a scenario that could play out.
Sure. Yeah, we don't know, Mandy. We don't know what their offer was.
No.
Right? Yeah, nobody knows.
No.
That's
When
all.
they make a settlement offer, that's not disclosed.
Yeah, we don't know that. Mandy says it's enough to destroy the life of a young adult. That's all I worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it could be. It could. I think they've got their heads on, but you never know.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're a young adult, I don't care how mature you are. You know, if you're exposed to enough, it can wear you down mentally. It can. And I don't want that for Maya. But, you know, we've been on 2 hours, and I'm just, you know, everybody that's here, if you didn't hit the like button when you first came in, please make sure you hit that like button on your way out. It's like super important. And if you would share this stream out to all of your social media accounts, it would be very helpful to the channel. I do believe that Aaron has linked yesterday's stream in the description. So if you didn't see yesterday's, you can see it following this. So everything could be put into perspective for you, and share that out as well. And when the stream is over, please leave a comment or two below. And I'm turning Chris's show back over to Chris.
All right, Jules, go get some sleep, go get some rest. All right,
Aaron, much love. Thank you so much for having me. Love you guys in the chat. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, Jules. We'll see you. All right. Both videos are in the description. I'm going to call it a night too. I'm going to go get some dinner, spend some time with my honey, who is Aaron, and enjoy the rest of my Friday night. So thank you guys for joining us on Jules Investigates. Thank you, Jules. As always, you uncover some of the most incredible stuff, you know, with trials and courts, and just unbelievable. And I don't know why nobody else is covering this. Like Ian said, Ian Runkle asked Jules, why is nobody else covering this? I don't get it. We're the only ones that are covering it. So anyway, thank you to Aaron. Thank you to our mods, Julian, OnlyFan, Therapist You Know. You guys are the best. Thank you, Widespread Panic and Brat. You guys, my brain is starting to turn to mush too. I've been streaming almost 12 hours. Thank you. We will be off this weekend. We're not going to stream anything Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to take a break. And then Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So no courts, but we will pick up with Henry Segura. So come check us out for that. And in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend. We love you guys. And I will see you down the road. Let me see. I'm going to play the outro. Shall I play the outro? I'll play the outro. All right. See you guys. Bye. Mm-hmm.